Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to our event as part of Inbound Marketing Week 2015. That's a series of events that have been run around the world to promote the practice and methodology that is inbound marketing, largely run by a company called HubSpot, who some of you may have heard of. May even be some HubSpot customers in the room. Today's event is called Marketing with a Magnet, Not with a Sledgehammer, for reasons which will become clear. My name's Martin Broadhurst. I'm the Digital Marketing Director at Katapult, and we are a HubSpot value-added reseller. So we're a VAR agency partner, and we've worked closely with HubSpot to develop the agency and really introduce the inbound marketing methodology into the way that we work with our clients. So, the time to change is now. Why do we say this? Well, last year, who came to the event last year? We did a similar event last year. Hands up if you came to the event last year. Not many, 2 or 3. Right, so last year we came and we did it was quite a fast-paced but masterclass in how you execute the different stages of an inbound marketing campaign. We looked at the tools that you use, and it was very much a kind of practical how-to. And we've came away and we've kept an eye on what people are doing locally and sort of regionally. And there's still a lot of people doing it the old way. A lot of people wasting money on advertising that's wildly ineffective. A lot of people that are still trying the old methods that just aren't as effective anymore. So we said, right, we need to take a step back, and we need to, for the event this year, we want to take a bit more of a strategic approach and say, look, this is why things have moved on a step. So that's what we're going to look at today. So what's the agenda for today? First of all, we've got what is outbound marketing, and then what is inbound marketing? How do those two things compare and contrast? Then we're going to look at the philosophy that kind of underpins the inbound marketing methodology, and then we're going to look at the methodology of inbound itself. Finally, we're going to look at the tools of inbound, so we're going to look at the different tactics that you would deploy within each phase of a campaign. And I should say that last year the whole thing was basically on the methodology and the tools. As I say, we're focusing on much more of a strategic piece today. And then we're going to look at the additional resource as well. We're going to share some additional resource with you as well. Just to give you a heads up, I have got the hashtag in the corner there, IMW15. That is the global hashtag for the Inbound Marketing Week event. So if you are tweeting or Instagramming or any other kind of social sharing, that's the tag that you can put on it. So, what is outbound marketing? More looks than judgment. I'm going to just illustrate something to you in a second, but outbound marketing is interruption marketing. It's very much about pushing your message out there, trying to disrupt people as they go through their day. Most people will be familiar with radio ads, TV ads, print ads, banner ads on websites and things like that, even bus back banners, things like that. And they're the typical things that people will utilize within a sort of large-scale marketing campaign. And I just want to show how much, we've got a little game, I've not tried this before, going to see how effective this is. But it's just a way of demonstrating the wastage that comes with outbound marketing. So if everyone could stand up for a second. Crowd participation, I'm very sorry. It's early in the morning and you're all hoping to have a good sleep. So, what we're going to do is we're going to play games of heads and tails. Now, for each round of this game, you either select heads or you select tails. If I flip the coin and it comes up heads and you've picked heads, stay standing. If you pick tails, sit down. So, winners stay standing, losers stay down. So, I've got a campaign. I'm going to launch a campaign. I'm maybe selling double glazing. I'm looking at selling some double glazing, and I'm going to do a campaign across the city of Derby. And I start out by doing some radio advertising across the local FM station, right? And it cost me a fair chunk of cash. Choose heads or tails. Right, those of you that picked tails, sit down. Turns out you guys didn't have the radio on that day, right? So I didn't manage to touch you guys. That sounds creepy. Right, pick heads or tails. And we're on a campaign. It's on the back of buses, or on the inside of buses. Those who picked tails, stay standing. Heads, sit down. You guys don't get the bus, turns out. Okay, pick heads and tails. Right, then we do a campaign. It's a Facebook advertising campaign. And those who picked tails didn't see it, I'm afraid, so if you guys could sit down. Now, every stage we spent a great deal of money on these steps. We spent thousands of pounds on each one of these campaigns. And they say in marketing that you need to, you've got like 7 touch points before somebody purchases. Now, you guys are the ones that I've successfully touched 3 times. Take that in whatever way you like. Right, heads or tails? Those who pick heads, sit down. And we have one winner. Unfortunately, I don't have anything. I've got 2p. But you can have some double glazing, which I've successfully sold to you. But at each stage, there's a lot of wastage. You're spending money on an audience that either isn't there, isn't interested. A lot of people will see your messaging and just dismiss it out of hand. There's a great deal of wastage. And the thing is, the campaigns only last, particularly when you're doing a paid advertising campaign, they only last as long as your budget is available. So there's no kind of long-term equity in it. So if you take, for instance, even something like Google AdWords, which is an incredibly powerful digital marketing tool, if you've not built up a decent website in the first instance, as soon as you turn off your AdWords, the whole world comes crumbling down. So what tactics do you have involved in interruption marketing, as we call it, or inbound marketing? Interruption marketing is anything that interrupts someone's flow of activity in order to try and get their attention. So what we're talking about there is even things like, so we've got radio, TV and print ads. That's kind of obvious. They're the ones that we've talked about. But there's some other ones in there like paid and rented email lists. So if you buy a mailing list, where someone will sell you a list of all these top CEOs or managing directors or finance managers in the industries that you're after, that is considered interruption marketing. Because those people, when they receive your email, they have not opted in to receive that. You are just pushing a message onto them. Things like pop-up banners, pop-up ads, things on websites, trade show, booths, banner and display ads, all these kind of things. Compare that to inbound marketing. Inbound marketing is about search engine optimization and pay-per-click. Google AdWords does fall under the category of inbound marketing, because if someone searches for holidays in Ibiza and you've got an advert that gets you to the top and says cheap holidays to Ibiza, then it's effective and you're not interrupting them, you're providing them with a result that they're interested in. Sponsoring events, thought leadership, online blogging, influencer outreach, things like that, where you're engaging with people within a particular community. Things like blogging. Blogging is so important, and we're going to come on to that in a bit. And then earned social media, so where people are retweeting, people are sharing your content, that's all inbound marketing. So why does outbound, why does interruption no longer work as effectively as it once did? Well, partly it's to do with the fact that there's just more messages. There's just too many messages. Some stats to back that up. Well, not only has the media landscape grown by type, so we used to have TV, radio, print. Now we've got all the different forms of social media, and that you can take your pick. You've got YouTube, you've got Facebook, you've got Twitter. Each one of those is a different type of media. But the volume of each kind of output, I'm just going to turn that off. The volume of activity on those, on each of those media types has grown exponentially as well, just to demonstrate that point somewhat. So some of these stats are from America, but they're still very relevant for us. In 1920, there was one radio station. In 2011, there was 14,700 radio stations across America. They reckon the average person in a single day receives up to 3,000 marketing messages. So that could be your TV advertising, it could be flicking through a newspaper magazine, it could be, you know, walking down the street seeing your bus stop banner adverts and things on the back of taxis, and you name it, it's everywhere. And how many of those do you actually remember? You can probably say, oh, I remember, this one really stood out. And yeah, there are some that stand out, but there's a hell of a lot of wastage in there. There is an awful lot of wastage. Come on to this in a second. This one here is interesting. The number of TV stations, I mean, you don't need us to go into the details of how many TV stations there once were. I mean, I can think back to, you know, when Channel 5 launched, and yes, we had Sky TV if you had cable, but well, if you could afford that. But then we had 5 terrestrial channels, Freeviews now up to about 70 or something. There's just a lot more options for people. And then Facebook is a fascinating one. At any given time, last year, at any given time, if you were to go onto Facebook, there are 1,500, the average person this is, has 1,500 pieces of content vying for a position in your Facebook newsfeed. And that's why Facebook has to have a sophisticated algorithm to work out what displays and what doesn't, which explains why you rarely see an update from your cousin who you don't see anymore, but occasionally you see updates from a friend you went to school with because you went on their profile and looked through their holiday photos. So, advertising was proliferating faster than laws were implemented to regulate it, which leads us to deceptive advertising. People's distrust in advertising is very real. There was a, yeah, this is an interesting stat. 63% of consumers need to hear company claims 3 to 5 times before they'll actually believe them. I don't know about you, but when I saw an advert a few years ago for a face, it was a skincare face cream product, and it said one of its ingredients was Boswellox. I thought that sounded a little bit too close to absolute, if I'm honest. Yeah, I think people, they see through advertising more so these days. And people very rarely feel like an advert gives them true value. There's some really good storytellers entering into the kind of advertising space. You know, and there are some really good ads that people will share. I mean, Honda did a fantastic YouTube ad last year where they had the 2 types of the Honda Civic, and you could press R, and it would, if you pressed R on your keyboard while it was on, it would show you 2 stories, but it was the same story overlay. It was an incredibly well done piece of advertising, and people shared that and people wanted to engage with that. But that's the exception rather than the rule. You see, interruption, false claims, over-promising, under-delivering, brand egocentrism, we are the best, exploitation and lawsuits, this changed everything. Not to mention the fact that technology itself has empowered the consumers, and a lot of companies are struggling to catch up with this. A lot of companies haven't really twigged that things are different. Since the smartphone, times have changed. We've not got broad dial-up internet anymore. We're not limited to 56K. We have broadband, we have smartphones, we have access to the internet in our pocket all day, every day. And that ability to find whatever we want whenever we like, without relying on being just kind of interrupted as we go about our daily duties, or having to turn to the yellow pages, for instance, enables us to make better decisions as consumers, make more informed and better decisions. See, these things changed everything. Caller ID meant when you got a call from someone and it said unknown number, no, you just don't need to take that call anymore. PVRs, how many of you Sky Plus it rather than watch it live? Or you'll catch it on iPlayer and you'll skip through the ads if it's on something else. You can't do that on 4OD, it's really frustrating. The do not call list, so people can't get your number, so you go kind of X directory. Anti-spam software, you know, McAfee and those kind of things. Broadband internet, that changed everything. Smartphones, social media, these things changed everything. They give us more access to the information we need when we want it, as opposed to when the advertiser buys a slot to put it in front of us. I want to demonstrate this with a little story. Bring this to life a little bit. When I was a kid, we used to go on holidays to a place called Wetwang, and when we'd go, my dad would always, because we had a little holiday home up there, my dad would always check the weather in Wetwang, and he'd be there on like a Thursday going, what's the weather going to be like this weekend? But the problem was we lived in Derby and the internet didn't exist, so finding the weather in Wetwang wasn't just getting a smartphone out of your pocket. You had to wait, and you had to get Yorkshire TV. Well, we didn't get Yorkshire TV because we lived in Derby, so I'd have to check the papers and find the weather for somewhere close-ish, isn't it? Near enough. What's the weather up there going to be like? And he'd always plan this a few days in advance. But now it's all changed, because now we just get our phone out and we say, "Okay, Google, what is the weather in Wetwang?"
It's 1 degree and partly cloudy in Wetwang.
It's 1 degree and partly cloudy in Wetwang. We don't need your weatherman anymore. And then we'd get in the car and we'd be driving over to Wetwang, and my dad would put on the radio. We always have the FM radio, and we'd be listening to Ram FM. And then we get just outside of the city boundary, and it'd go crackly, and you go, oh bloody hell, we've got to change to something else. And you constantly change, unless you're going to listen to one of the BBC radio stations, in which case, but even then you have to retune. But we liked the commercial stations because my dad couldn't get enough of that outbound advertising that they kept shoving on us between songs. But we don't need that anymore, because now when we go on holiday to Wetwang, I just connect Spotify. Because on Spotify I can get all the music I want in the world, pretty much. And I can listen to audiobooks. I can listen to, you know, there's Sherlock Holmes stories on there. I can listen to stand-up comedy. Everything I need is on there. Don't need FM radio anymore. And then when we'd arrive in Wetwang, get there, it'd be late in the evening, I'd be like, oh, I just want to sit down and watch TV. Now, I've already told you, when I was growing up, it was the era of channel. I remember one time we had arrived and we spent the Friday evening watching the launch of Channel 5. What a way to kickstart your weekend. Party hard. And we had 5 channels, and that was it. And that was, you know, we had just nothing that you wanted to watch. Again, it's all changed, hasn't it? I don't need to sit there and watch Anton Deck's Saturday Night Takeaway, because I've got Netflix. Put Netflix on and I can sit with no adverts watching some of the greatest TV shows ever produced, Breaking Bad, for instance. And then when we'd arrive, my dad would always go, Booker. I meant to go to the shop before we left. Because I don't know if you've ever been to Wetwang, there's little more than a village shop and a church. It's a pokey little village, it's not a very exciting place. The village shop sells slightly stale bread and, you know, 2-day-old newspapers. It's kind of, there's not a lot going on there. Not a commercial epicentre. And my dad would go, damn, I needed to buy this thing. And I go, don't worry, Dad. Don't worry, Dad. Because now, we don't need to drive back to Derby or drive to Leeds or York or whatever the nearest town is, city. So I've got Amazon Prime. And I can order it tonight, Dad, and it will be with us before midday tomorrow. So fret ye not. And what do all of these things do that the old tools didn't do? They take in social signals and share that back to you incredibly well. So Amazon Prime, part of the Amazon group, obviously, it's just a service where you get things free delivery the next day. What does that provide? Well, is people like you bought this. You've got ratings for everything you buy. You don't get that in M&S. If I walk into M&S, I can't see what the previous 10 purchasers thought about a bit of crockery that I quite fancy. Netflix, connect it to Facebook. I can see what all of my friends have watched and what they've liked. I can get all of these social signals, and there's no adverts. Spotify, £10 a month premium account. I can see what my friends are listening to. I can share albums and playlists with them. And guess what? No adverts. And then Google, the whole Google space is incredible. I mean, OK Google and the Google Now platform has a bit of a social element to it. But the whole social ecosystem on Google is just fantastic. Google reviews, Google ratings, all these kind of things are very good. So that's then, and this is now. Have we got any companies that are really embracing this in a practical way? Now, I've tried to steer away from using examples of companies like Nike. They're very disconnected from the kind of world that most of us are kind of living in. But there's just a really interesting example from what these guys have done over the past few years. So a few years ago, they said they were going to cut their mass media spend by 40%. 40% of their advertising, they was going to chop it off because they recognized it wasn't the right channel to help them grow their business what they wanted to achieve in the next 3 years. And just so you're aware, they wanted to grow their business by an extra $9 billion in 3 years. They weren't looking to tread water while reducing costs, to grow significantly. So how's that worked out for them? Well, if you check their financials, they're doing okay. The reason that this kind of was a success was because they made investments in 2 products in particular. Nike Fuel Band. Has anyone got a Nike Fuel Band? No? And Nike Plus. Anyone use Nike Plus? So it's a running app and it's a social platform. So if you use things like Runkeeper or any other kind of fitness app, it's similar to that. Now the Fuel Band feeds all that data into your Nike Plus profile, allows you to connect and see what your friends are doing, and you can compete with your friends. It's got in 2013, I think it had 18 million users, of which 15,000, they had 15,000 daily active users. So 15,000 people going onto the platform every day, sharing information, sharing their exercise, competing with friends, things like that. Always driving people back to their owned media platform. Last year, at the end of last year, Nike Plus had 28 million mentions on Instagram, most of which were from the Nike Plus app where you can share photos and things like that. That kind of reach, if you think 28 million posts, how many people saw each one of those posts? That kind of reach for free, or the investment that it took you to build the platform, if we see that as a sunk cost, that kind of reach is incredible. And they recognize the value in user-generated content, offering people something that was valuable, and the power of social. So, with that in mind, that's outbound marketing. What is inbound marketing? Inbound marketing, instead of buying lists or buying media space or cold calling, inbound marketing focuses on creating content, educational, fun or otherwise, that pulls people to your website where they can learn more about what it is that you sell of their own accord. What you're looking to do is bring them into your website and engage them on over a sustained period of time. Inbound is an approach to marketing that reaches today's consumers. So there's 2 big aspects of inbound marketing that you really have to be aware of. One is content. Now content is about producing the educational material, the humorous material, the information that people want to consume, and then making sure that it is shared in places that people can be found. And this is about the context. And context, there's a few things that kind of come into the context. It's about knowing where your buyers are, so not just having like this scattergun approach to the way that you spend your advertising money. It's about knowing where your target market is, understanding what type of content it is that is going to resonate with them and help inform them to make a decision. I have some practical examples of this, but this is the kind of thing that you've really got to understand the context in order to be able to personalize the content, which will help make it scale. So, inbound marketing in a nutshell: market with a magnet, not with a sledgehammer. This is the theme of today's talk. What is it about inbound marketing that makes it work? Well, pre-internet, the buyer was relatively uninformed. Going back to the holidays, holidays are a really nice example for explaining how people buy historically. I remember going on holiday when we weren't going to Wetwang. We'd go to a travel agent's, and my mum would take me into Ilkeston Co-op Travel. Ilkeston Co-op Travel's gonna get you there. Anyone remember that jingle? So we'd go to Ilkeston Co-op and we'd walk around, and my mum would pick off a load of brochures. She'd stick them in a bag. We'd go home. We'd then leaf through all these brochures. And then my mum would go, that one, and that one. Then we'd go back in and we'd speak to the travel agent. And the travel agent would then give you the whole bluster and be like, oh, I've been there, it's very nice. Oh, we'll go to there because that one's slightly more expensive and her commission's slightly better. So I'm gonna, and you were uninformed. You were completely reliant on what these, unless you had a friend who had been, you didn't really have a great deal of many places to go. You might have even watched a travel show on TV. You know, it's not really, you know, you're quite limited in the places that you could go to. Well, today that's different. Today you've got Expedia, you've got TripAdvisor, you've got Airbnb, you've got a great website I discovered the other day. It was shared on BBC Click, spottedbylocals.com, which will tell you about great things that locals in some of the key cities around the world have like found and think you should see. The buyer journey was very linear. It was kind of do this, do this, do this. It was go to travel agent, pick up brochures, return, purchase. Now it's a bit more fluid. You don't really know what you're looking for when you start, and you start at Google a lot of the time when you buy. You kind of just punch in a search phrase and see where it takes you. It's almost like that game on Wikipedia where you just click on random links, seeing how long it takes you to find mention of the Nazis. It's not quite the same thing, I acknowledge, but it's a bit random. It's a bit kind of, you don't quite know where you're going. But you do your research on Google. You start off on the search engines and you play about, and then you might go on Twitter and say, oh, has anyone been to this place? Has anyone got a good recommendation for a week away? And then you start interacting on communities like Airbnb, and you start living in houses of people around the world for a week while they rent it to you and live in someone else's house on Airbnb. And the marketing playbook pre-internet was about interruption, cold calls, advertising, knocking on doors. Now it's about thought leadership through content creation. It's about really setting the agenda, making people care, creating storytelling that people buy into. But in order to get someone to the point where they're prepared to buy, you need to really earn their trust. And I think a lot of what this is about is creating content that isn't just about, so I talk about creating content and it being educational. It genuinely does have to be educational. You can't kind of create, I don't know, you write an industry white paper that tells people in the industry that you're targeting what the state of the landscape is within the industry and what they need to do to change it. You can't just have within that ebook, oh, if you want to do anything about it, you've got to speak to us and we hold all the secrets. There's got to be an element of genuinely giving people value. So you've got to share with people the content that helps to intrigue them in the first instance. This is, we break down our campaigns into three main kind of life cycle stages. That starts off with awareness, consideration, and decision. So that's the buying cycle. You can split that down into some more groups, but awareness, consideration, decision. Awareness is for people who don't really know what the solution to their problem is. They've barely even diagnosed what their problem is. A lot of the time, they don't know there's a better way of doing something that they're doing. Consideration is at the point where they've diagnosed what their problem is, and they're now looking to influence that purchasing decision and make a decision, and then decision is where they actually pull the trigger and buy. We'll go into that into more detail, but you've got to earn your buyer's trust by giving them the right content for wherever they are in the buying decision-making process. Ideally, that note at the bottom, you want to delight them to the point where they become promoters of your brand. If you do your job really well, you don't just want to get a customer, you want to have a repeat customer and a brand advocate. That is where you've done something really quite powerful. So, how does inbound work? This is the methodology. The methodology facilitates the buyer journey through the sales funnel, from strangers to promoters of your brand. So this takes us to what I was just talking about with the awareness, consideration, and decision. What you've got to do with inbound is you've got to drive, if you imagine it as a funnel, you've really got to build the audience. And you'll do this through blogging. Blogging is really very important. You'll do this through creating an audience. You'll whittle them down. Some of those people will become leads. So this audience is people in the kind of awareness phase. You're sharing content with them that they find interesting. They say, oh, that kind of relates to me. I get that. I want to find out more. Then they come through and they read about it, and then they might become leads. So you've got your lead generation section, and you take a certain portion of your traffic, turn them into leads. But not all of your leads are going to turn into customers. So then we've got to nurture those ones that are going to buy through to becoming customers. And that is the user journey that you're taking people on. But there are some fundamentals to the inbound marketing methodology. Number one, you have to really focus on your business goals. Right, okay, so how many people, when starting out with a campaign, or if you're a marketing manager here, start out with a very specific, very clear objective? Not just, we've got some marketing budget and we're going to spend it on some pay-per-click or some, I don't know, bus backs or some leaflet drops or something like that. A very clear campaign that says, we want to get this many customers at the end of this. We've got this budget and we want this many customers at the end of it. Because ultimately, as marketers, that's what our job is to do. It's not to just raise brand awareness and look after the brand and that kind of thing. We have to be commercially accountable. So I'm going to give you an illustrative here of how we can work out those goals. You start off with how much you want to do in new business. Right? So in this instance, we've got a fictional company here. They want to do £12,000 in new business, average order value of £2,000. So that tells us very clearly, very easily, let's say this was a monthly figure. They want to do 12 grand a month and the average order value is 2 grand. So they want to get 6 new customers every month. Easy. Their current lead to customer conversion rate is 10%. So 100 leads gives them 10 customers. And their current website visitor to lead conversion is 1.5%. So that means for every 1,000 hits, they generate 15 leads, which should be 1.5 customers. So with this in mind, we can then work back and say, from a digital perspective, what do we need to do with the website in order to be able to make it deliver the customers that we're after? We know we can work it backwards here. It's not difficult. So we know we want 6 customers. We want 6 customers. This means we need 60 leads. And to get 60 leads, we need 4,000 visitors a month. And that there is the key bit of information you need. Because if this company generates at the moment, let's say, well, 1,500 hits a month. Well, that tells you you've got to increase that traffic, and whether that be through pay-per-click, and you put the investment into pay-per-click, or you put the investment into something like blogging, that tells you you've got to raise that figure. You've got to get it a lot higher. So that is your objective, which you can then align the amount of activity to. So for instance, let's just say you were going to do blogging, for instance. And you know every blog generates approximately, let's say it was 500 views. Well, that would tell you that you need to write, however, if it was 1,500 hits a month, you've got to write 5 blogs, because that would give you your 2,500 views. Not always that easy. Make it sound dead simple. Fundamentals of inbound marketing number 2, don't lose sight of your audience. This is really important. You've got to really get under the skin of your buyers. And this means aligning your activity to buyer personas. How many people in here are actually in a marketing function? Hands up. Okay, how many of you have very clearly defined buyer personas. It's very clearly defined, hands high in the air. All right, okay, it's a lot less than it was people working in a marketing function. And this is purely an illustrative one, but it's the kind of thing we want to look at in a buyer persona. So this is a fictional software company that is selling HR tools to HR managers. This is something that their buyer persona might look like. Their ideal buyer is someone that's the head of human resources, worked at the same company for 10 years, worked her way up from a HR associate, married with 2 children, 8 and 10. It's the detail that brings them to life. The demographics, skews female, so maybe 70-30. Age 30 to 45, dual household income of 100k, suburban lifestyle. Identifies calm demeanour, probably has an assistant screening calls, asked to receive printed mail or collateral to be mailed or emailed over to them. Their goals. Now the goals are really important, because if you don't understand what it is that they're trying to achieve in their day-to-day, how are you going to write content that tells them that you understand their challenges and you can help them achieve their goals? And their goals aren't always just generate more business, because this woman, for instance, as a HR associate, couldn't give a monkeys about that really. She wants to keep employees happy and staff turnover low, and support legal and finance teams where possible. The challenges are getting everything done with a small staff, HR department, small, growing, medium-sized business. It's, you know, HR isn't something that has a huge department. It's probably her and an assistant. So she has a small staff, a few hundred people to look after. And she also has to manage any changes that she rolls out throughout the company. Bit of a headache. Now we know that. So we're the ones that are selling software to her. So we've got to think about how we can help achieve those goals and overcome challenges. So we say how we can help. Well, we make it easy to manage all employee data in one place. So she's no longer working on all those Excel spreadsheets and Microsoft Access databases that she's had for 15 years and never bothered to upgrade. And we're going to help integrate with the legal and finance team systems as well, because at the minute she's running this system which has no visibility of staff pay. It's all, like I say, spreadsheets and Access databases. We want some real quotes from them. So real quotes from customers that we actually have right now. The best place to find real quotes from a customer that you want to sell to is the first email that you receive from them. It's either going to be the first or the second. So the first email you receive from someone, quite often it might be, I need some help, can I speak to someone there? Fine. That's not going to be the best email. But if it's either going to be the first or the second, where they then say, I'm looking for X to do Y because Z. So they'll tell you what they're looking for, why they're looking for it, and how they want to achieve it. But why it is important to them. And when you understand that, you understand the pain points. You know, they might say, I've got a small team and I can't cope with all these Excel documents. For this person, real quotes, and for this company, it's been difficult getting company-wide adoption of new technologies in the past. So if you're going to try and sell me a software product, I'm not going to be able to get buy-in from the rest of the team. Implementation is difficult. I already know the stumbling blocks. I don't have time to train new employees on a million different databases and systems and platforms. God, can't do that. And I've had to deal with so many painful integrations with other departments, databases and software. And immediately we've got some common objections. I'm worried I'll lose data transitioning to a new system, and I don't have time to train the entire company on how to use the new system. So we know what the goals and challenges are. We know how we can help overcome them. We also understand what it is that some real quotes that our sales team have encountered and the common objections. So we've got to be able to come up with a way of overcoming them. This gives us our marketing message, which is it's an integrated HR database management system. Elevator pitch, we give you an intuitive database that integrates with your existing software and platforms and lifetime training to help new employees get up to speed quickly. Really punchy, really snappy. If you were then to expand that out into, let's say, an ebook or a webinar. You might say how to integrate a new HR system, 5 easy steps. There's your blog post. That buyer persona sits at the heart of everything you do. Right? It's really very important to understand very specifically the role, and you might have multiple people in an organisation that you would sell to. You might sell to a HR director or a managing director or a properties manager or any number of different job roles, and each one of them has a slightly different angle on understanding why your product or service can help them. And therefore your messaging needs to speak to the very specific individuals. Fundamentals of inbound marketing number 3. Not all buyers are ready to buy. And that's just fine. That's fine. They're okay to not want to buy now. But if they come to my website, I want them to, if they're not ready to buy now, they might be ready to buy in 18 months' time. They might not even know they want to buy now. But my goal is to try and persuade them that they want to buy from me at some point in the future. So we break down the inbound marketing methodology into these different sections and the buyer journey. So we start off with get found. For us, this is the bits in the squares are for us. This is us as marketers. What do we need to do? So this is about getting found. At the start of the campaign, we're looking to get strangers, the people in the circles. And this is as they move through that funnel. So we're looking to get found, strangers, bring them to us. We use the blog, we use SEO, we use social media, we use pay-per-click to draw them into our website. Now they're visitors. So now we can see them, even if it's just on Google Analytics, we can see a hit. But what we want to do then is engage them. We want to turn a visitor into a lead. We want to get them to give us an email address or to give us name, telephone number, preferably. That would be great, but probably not going to do that. Not at this stage. And to do that, we use forms, we use calls to actions, we use landing pages. Then we've got leads. That's when they're leads. So with leads, we move it away. We're not using blogs, social media, and SEO in the same way anymore. We're more about using email. We're using marketing automation. And then we convert them into customers. And that is where we analyze our performance and we turn them into promoters using analytics, CRM, closed loop marketing, and that's where we bring in social media and email back into the fold. Now, get found. I'm going to go into this in a bit more detail. So these are the tools that we use. It talks about blogging, social media, keyword optimization, and site pages. With the really interesting, if we take it back to the buyer personas a second, you should be able to work out what kind of blog content appeals to them, what platforms you should be using. You know, everyone, I speak to people and they're like, in fact, a client of mine recently said, oh, I've got to have a Facebook page. So why do you need a Facebook page? Oh, I've got to have a Facebook page. But why? Why? Everyone's got a Facebook page, so I just need a Facebook page. They started a Facebook page, about 25 people liked it, all of them worked in the business. They started sharing posts about the charity fun run that they did the week before. No one cared. The Facebook page died. I was right. They were wrong. I'm going to sing the I Was Right song. It's about, you know, their audience was on LinkedIn. Their audience wasn't on Facebook. They are on Facebook, but not in that. They're not going to follow the company page. And there's value in them having a Facebook page for a different reason, but they didn't want to go down that route. So it's about understanding where your audience is. Your audience might be on Snapchat, in which case, good luck with that. Keyword optimization. So this is how you optimize your website. To make sure that the right words and phrases are being used. You might have, and I dare say a lot of you suffer from this, certainly we have done in the past, and most clients that I work with do. You have an internal lexicon which isn't reflective of the language that your buyers use. Some of my clients have, they use phrases on their website that the rest of the industry isn't using. So one client used the term internal and external when they should have used ID and OD, internal diameter and outside diameter. That's what people were searching for, yet nowhere on their website did it mention these things. So we changed it. And your site pages, you've really got to understand what role each page in your site plays in that buyer decision-making process. So how many people where are they? If they're at like a product specification page, they're probably good to buy, and they're looking to get a free trial. So don't offer them on the page a call to action that says download our ebook. It's not the right thing in the user journey. I'm just going to take a moment to emphasize the importance of blogging, because blogging is really that important. Companies blog because it's one of the most effective ways to attract potential customers to your site. I cannot stress this enough. If you have 100 pages on your website and you're not found in January for a particular search term that you wish to be found for, and you make no changes to your site throughout the rest of the year, guess what? You're still not going to be found for it come December 31st. Whereas if you blog, and you blog just once a week, you've increased the size of your website and the visibility of it to search engines by 50%, or 52% to be exact. That increases your chances of being found in searches vastly. Blogging is an incredibly powerful tool, and if you're not doing it, you're missing a trick. So, blogging, it works. Companies that blog on average find they have 55% more website visitors, 97% more inbound links, and 434% more indexed pages within search results. Blogging is a powerful tool. Companies that blog generate 126% more leads than those that don't. This was a report that was done by HubSpot. Blog is a great lead generating tool. You answer people's questions. At the bottom of the blog post you say, to find out more about this challenge that you're having, download our ebook. They download the ebook, give you some details, they become a lead, ta-da, job done. So blogging is regularly linked to a higher return on investment. It has a very positive ROI. Why is that? Because a blog that really works, if you publish it today, it's still there tomorrow. It's still there in 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 2 years. And if you get it to rank very well for an important keyword today, again, particularly if you keep refreshing it and updating it with any industry changes, that post will remain high. It doesn't lose value. It's a one-time investment. It's not like pay-per-click, where you chuck in money into the Google furnace, and as soon as you stop chucking that money on, the traffic goes down. That's not the case with blogging. You're buying marketing assets. Your time spent, is invested in a marketing asset. So, some quick blogging do's and don'ts. You want to add a keyword to every blog title. So you want to think about what your users are searching for, add a keyword to every blog title. You want to add an image to every blog so that when it's shared on Facebook, when it's shared on LinkedIn, an image displays. And you want to add a call to action to every post. Your call to action should link back to what the topic of the thing is. So you want to say, here's your professional indemnity guide, which is something that we've worked on recently for someone in the room. You do 5 reasons why you need professional indemnity insurance. At the bottom of it, download your guide to choosing the right policy for you. And they go, oh yeah, that's interesting. Click on that, download the guide, bang, you've got a lead. You want to keep your buyer persona in mind when writing, so write for their pain points and challenges. And you want to share your articles across your social media accounts a few times, certainly at least a few times. And you want to make sure your blog subscribers receive an email update. That's very important. There's a few ways of doing that. I'll look at that in a moment. What you don't want to do is write low quality, short churn articles, things that don't add value. Anything that's less than kind of 400 words is probably going to be, 400 words is okay. That's a kind of baseline that we always try and hit. Depends on the type of content, of course. If it was an infographic, a little bit of text explaining it won't go amiss. But don't write low quality articles. Genuinely try to engage the reader and educate and inform them. Don't write exclusively about your company. Not many people really care about the fun run that the accounts department did. That's great, just don't stick it on the corporate blog. Don't keep telling people how brilliant your products and services are. Let them discover that themselves by reading the content and going, oh, if only there was a way of doing this thing. And then you've explained how your case study, your case study that you've offered in another blog demonstrates how you did that. You don't just want to keep saying, we're amazing. And then certainly don't copy and paste other people's articles. Don't just, that's duplicate content, it's not great. There are ways that you can do it, but if your blog is just populated with other people's content, then that's a negative thing, more so than it's a good thing. There is a part that it can play, but you have to choose wisely. So this is a blog that we've done for one of our clients, Claxton Engineering. They're an offshore oil and gas construction and engineering company. Not the most, it's not exactly a B2C consumer-friendly blog. 6 types of platform centralizers and how they could help you. No one in this room is going to want to read that. But there is an audience out there that is very, very relevant for. So, just going to have a quick kind of look at this blog. What have we got on there? First of all, you've got the sharing articles. We can share that across social media. We want to encourage our visitors to share it. The title of the blog, Platform Centralizers, is our keyword. So that's the keyword we've stuck in there. We've got the follow options so people can connect with the company over on the top right. And next to that, we've got subscribe via email. So every time we give them an option, we say, do you want to receive an email notification instantly? So as soon as the blog is posted. Do you want to receive one daily? So if you publish one every day, they'll receive one in their inbox. Do you want to receive one weekly, which will be a digest of all of the week's posts? Or do you want to receive one monthly? Again, it's a digest of all the month's posts. So we give people an option to subscribe. Beneath that, we've got a case study pack. In this case, it's a decommissioning case study pack. That's just on the sidebar. It's a generic case study, generic call to action that's always there. So you can see this blog. It's very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Go read it. Very interesting. Then we've got the Centralizers Buyer's Guide at the bottom. We're saying download our Centralizers Buyer's Guide. The good thing about someone downloading a Centralizers Buyer's Guide is that they tend not to be a hobbyist. They're people that are self-identifying as a buyer of a centralizer. So if you've read that blog, chances are you're going to be interested in that. And you want to do that at the bottom of every blog post. Make sure you've got that relevant call to action. But blogging isn't the only tool that's very effective for inbound marketing and attracting customers. We also have social media. Social is incredibly powerful. You've really got to understand those channels though. So as I said earlier, you've got to understand the buyer. Where are they and where aren't they? Don't put a load of money investing in all this great Instagram content if you're selling to engineers who are on LinkedIn and industry forums. You want to go where the audience is. Don't try and just create an audience that's never going to be there. Why do you need to be on social? Why is social important? Average hours per week spent on this online activity worldwide. Social media comes out top, 4.6 hours a week. And I think that is increasing. That's probably 18 months, 2 years old now. It pips email, which is 4.4 hours a week. Probably spend 4.4 hours a day on email. But you've really got to consider your audience. This goes back to what I was saying again. You've got to have relevant content that speaks to your buyer persona. You want to share it on the right channel, not Facebook, not Instagram, not Snapchat. And you've got to share it at the right time, so when they're there. Again, if your audience is in the US, that generally means just shifting your schedule 5 to 7 hours behind. Then you always want to tie it back to those goals that we started with. This is a kind of landing page for that decommissioning case study pack I talked about. Really simple case study pack there. Really simple landing page. Does one job. It's about getting a visitor to become a lead. That's all it's there to do. Because ultimately, if our activity isn't aligned to our goals of generating traffic, converting traffic into leads, and leads into customers, if we can't tie every activity back to one of those things, we're wasting our time, quite frankly. Some things to be aware of with social media. Don't be boring. Visual content engages people. There's plenty of tools out there where you can create really good visual content without having to be a graphic designer yourself. I recommend canva.com for one. That's one to check out. It's a really good tool. But yeah, share a post. Talked about having an image on your social media, on your blogs. That's important too, because when it gets shared on Facebook, the image will appear. So yeah, keep things visual. Visual content's processed much quicker as well. Visual content, the brain processes it much quicker than text. So it catches people's attention and transmits a message very effectively. You also want to create content around targeted keywords. So that means having blog posts, site pages and everything well optimized for the phrases that people are searching for. You know, if you can use a tool that tells you how many times a search phrase is being used, and you've got two products, two search phrases, and you've got like, I don't know, product A and product A1, and they're both slightly different. But product A1 is searched for 500 times a month, and product A is searched for 200 times a month. Optimize your page for A1. And you want to keep your website fresh. So this means updating it regularly. So not necessarily changing your site pages, but again, a blog is a really good way of doing this, because a blog says, look, we're keeping this updated. Search engines want to send people to relevant content. If your site's not been updated for 3 years and literally no one's touched it, and you just kind of leave it there in the background, get on that. You need to change that. You need to be frequently updated and be able to signpost people to the relevant content quickly. So blogs, again, great way of doing that, because hopefully if you've got a well-written, kind of good architecture on your blog, search engines should find that content pretty quickly, and they'll send people straight to the article rather than like the blog listing page or something like that. Yeah. Now, what tools do you use to turn traffic into leads? So what we're looking to do here, once we've got those visitors, we've used social media, we've used blogging, we've used all those other tools like PPC to attract people. How do we turn them into leads? Well, we'll go back to what we talked about earlier, the engage section. We're talking about premium content, buyer's guides, case study packs, ebooks, white papers, industry reports, webinars. We've got calls to action. Do this thing to access this thing. And we've got landing pages. Some people call them squeeze pages, where we take someone and we try and push them through our form. Try and get them to fill out the form, give us some details. And then sitting behind that, we have the contact database, which we use for progressive profiling. So, premium content development. It could be, if you work in the engineering world, your premium content could be something around just case studies. Because engineers, they want information quickly. They might want a buyer's guide for different products. However, a student audience, you might want something like a checklist, or an ebook, or a guide, or an infographic, or something like that. It all goes back to that buyer persona and understanding what their challenges are in order to be able to write that content that overcomes those challenges and help those achieve their goals. So this is one, the essential checklist for studying in the UK. This is for Canadian students who want to apply to UK universities. So if they search online about how to apply for studying in the UK, this will help them, and they can download this guide, and then from that we can then pass them on to an advisor, and that's our job as marketers done. So align your content to your persona's pain points. So what you want to do is evidence what you can do by addressing their pain points, presenting a solution, giving them a case study or a client testimonial, something like that, and then finally giving them the sell. If you're a software company, have you got any software companies in? One. So particularly with the software as a service industry, the SaaS industry, your big thing there would be the sell would be about offering a free trial or a live demo, something like that. Some industries it's easier than others. You know, you can't do that if you're a builder. Free trial of a house, it just doesn't work. So you've really got to think about, it might just be a free consultation, it might be a review of their existing setup. Just get them on the phone to an expert in your team who is going to offer them some value in return. Then we've got the calls to actions. Calls to actions are the things that sit on the website to get people to do the thing that you want them to do. So they sit at the bottom of the blog post and say, do this thing now. This is an example of a marketing one from HubSpot. This is just about subscribing to their blog. It's really clear. Get marketing tips straight to your inbox. They're not mucking about. Marketing tips straight to your inbox. Subscribe to the marketing blog. Bang, clear. The message is clear. You want marketing tips, we know you do. You're our buyer persona, and you get it straight to your inbox because we know that's where you live. You live in your inbox because everybody lives in the damn inbox these days. Now, some words not to use on a call to action. Click here, it's very weak. You want it to be action oriented, benefit led. Download now, enroll today. You want to be much more kind of progressive. Click here is just kind of, click. You want to say what the action is beyond that. Submit, again, similar thing to click here. Investment makes people think that they're actually signing up, they're going to be exchanging some cash. Try and avoid that, because you're not, particularly in the lead generation stage. Virtualization, jargon, just avoid it, cut it out. And again, technical, try to avoid overwhelming people. These are some kind of the things, don't get too technical, don't use too much jargon. The idea, like this goes back to the language that your personas are using. Presumably they're looking to use you because you're the experts who understand the jargon and need to understand the jargon. They just need a solution to the problem. So you want to talk about their pain points and their challenges. And then you want to drive visitors to landing pages where they will become leads. Landing pages, few tips. Remove the top navigation. Remove anything that we call a leak. That's when someone's on the page, we want to give them one option. Download this form to continue. The end. Here's the benefits of downloading it. Here's what you're going to get in a big, strong headline. So what you should do, use a clear, compelling headline. Remove the leaks. And then give them a form to submit. What you want to do is explain the value of the offer to the persona. So do this thing, this is why you should benefit from it. Include images, include social sharing links, and capture the details using a form. The form is the all-important thing. The length of the form has to be appropriate for the audience and where they are in the buying decision-making process. What you don't want to do is include navigation, include large paragraphs of text, including too much information, and then add too many fields on your form and use jargon or generic submit buttons. So a quick look at a couple of examples of a landing page. This one, it's too plain. So this one, I suspect this was a work in progress, but they've got a clear headline, but they've got no image of what they're going to download. They're not far off, but they have got the navigation at the top, so you can click away if you want to. And it's a really bad, just very plain. This, much simpler, there's no navigation, you fit your big strong headline with a subheader, and then a big, on the form, download your free copy today. There you go. It's a form that's not too long. Nice big image of the ebook that you're about to download. You're much more likely to complete something on a page like that than on something. If there's some stuff in the navigation there, you're giving them an option to go elsewhere and not download what you want them to download. And finally, you want to utilize your CRM and collect the data to do what we call closed loop reporting. So if you can connect it to your CRM, you'll then be able to say this lead came from here, and we can track it back to the very activity that brought them back in the first instance, whether that be a blog or otherwise. Now, what tools do you turn to, what tools do you use to turn leads into customers? This is the conversion process. We use marketing automation. If you need marketing automation tools, there's loads out there, but if you're using MailChimp, if anyone uses MailChimp, they have just got and are recently introduced some marketing automation tools. Don't have time to go into what marketing automation is specifically. Suffice to say, it's a way of automating your marketing activity to your audience based on different actions along the way. And we use email to do that. Some marketing automation tools use social media as well. HubSpot does that. But predominantly it's about sending a series of messages to people based on the interactions that they have with you. And this is where we use progressive profiling. So you want to send targeted emails to move them through the life cycle stages I talked about earlier. That there is the kind of basic process of a workflow, what we call an automated workflow. But what you're looking to do is basically send them a series of messages that are going to convince them to keep coming back to your website, download a piece of content, move into the next bucket from awareness into consideration. Now they're understanding the product, they want to download your checklist, they want to download your case study pack, and then they move in to what we call the decision-making process, which is where we offer them a free trial, a demo, or maybe a consultation with a sales guy. But we do this through email. It's predominantly through email, but we can, if we're smart, use some cool things on our websites that change the content of the website according to where they are in the buying decision-making journey. This is a demonstration of a very simple workflow. Person visits the website, downloads an ebook, they receive a follow-up email with the link to the ebook contained. They are then assigned a life cycle stage within our system, within our marketing system, HubSpot. It changes their life cycle stage to lead, which then kickstarts a secondary series of events. So that's the trigger to change the next thing. So then they'll receive, let's say there's 5 messages in the next one. If they do what we want them to do on the second message, we'll change their life cycle stage again, and the process repeats. So by going beyond email, go beyond email by using automation informed by context and life cycle. So if they've downloaded a white paper from you in the past, you might want to send them a series of related emails, but you might also want to send them some messages on social media. Just a few do's and don'ts of marketing automation. One, first of all, understand that marketing automation is a technology, not a strategy. It is a tool. It is not a strategy in and of itself. Take advantage of automation technology to build lead nurturing workflows. So again, you want a series of messages that are going to help convince and convert your customers, or your visitors into customers, should I say. Automate the email communications from your sales team. Yeah, you want to do that as much as you can, because you want to pre-qualify. You don't want your sales team on the phone all the time speaking to people before they're ready to buy. It's a waste of their time. So if you can automate those messages as best you can, that's worth doing. And make sure you're collecting enough of the right information to make automation really work for you. So you need to segment. You know, every time you send them a link to a webinar, they fill out that form, ask them different questions, progressively profile them, get more information on them each time they come back. What you don't want to do is overlook all the things that can be automated. So social media can be automated. Do that. Internal emails, notifications to sales teams saying, hey look, a lead has been back on the website. Automate that process. But don't automate the wrong things. A real bad automation that I come across this quite a lot and it really annoys me is when you follow someone on Twitter and you get an automatic direct message saying, hey, thanks for following. It's so insincere, it's not personal, you're kind of like, oh, what a token gesture. And that really annoys me. So that's the kind of example of automating the wrong thing. Don't send generic email communications, make them personal, make them specific to the individual. And don't forget to align automation strategy to your persona. So the follow-up emails need to relate to the persona. And finally, we have the analysis stage. For this, we use CRM and closed loop reporting. How many people have got a CRM? A few. If you do use your CRM, connect it to your marketing suite. Salesforce has some good integrations. HubSpot has its own CRM built into it, so it automatically does this for you. But if you mark someone as a customer in your database, you'll then be able to track back the revenue stream so that you can assign that to, say, a LinkedIn advertising campaign. So you can see what the most successful marketing channels are. Keep the cycle going by continually nurturing with personalized content. So smart software like HubSpot, and there's plenty of others out there as well, you can improve email click-throughs with personalized content, but you also get the message across in a much more powerful way because you talk their language and you seem like you've got an audience of one. So just to quickly recap, That was a bit of a whistle stop at the end there because I wanted to squeeze in some type of questions. Here's how the inbound marketing methodology and tools all come together. We want to start off with our goals, understand how big the audience is we need, understand our conversion rates at each stage of that process to give us the customers we require in order to achieve our commercial objectives. Now, to build the audience, we use the Get Found set of tools. That's search engine optimization, SEO, blogging, and pay-per-click. And then when we've got visitors on our website, we move to the second set, which is the engagement tools. This is premium content, calls to action, and landing pages. Once we've got them into our database and they've exchanged some details with us, we use the conversion tools of email marketing and marketing automation. And finally, to see the success of that and see it all come together, we use the analysis optimization tools, which is CRM, closed loop reporting, and we want to delight our customers, so we bring back the email and social to try and turn them into brand advocates as well. Does it work? Absolutely does work. This is an example from Claxton, the engineering company I talked about earlier today. They were really struck, they saw their SEO, or they saw their organic search traffic dropping off a cliff, to be honest. It was 2013, it was getting very bad, it was heading in the wrong direction. We started working with them halfway through 2014. So from September to date, these results are from September to date, there was a 300% increase in organic search traffic, predominantly led by the blogging activity that we did. There was a 100% increase in their social audience growth, which was very impressive for a company like that. They had a decent following on LinkedIn already. And they saw a 100% increase in leads through the website, and their website was already doing okay for them. It was a recognized channel of leads and inquiries. It wasn't like they were getting one lead a month and we took it from 1 to 2. It was a good number. And there was a 2,500% year-on-year social traffic increase. So website traffic coming through to the website was massive. Their landing pages, just to give you a bit of an insight into this, their landing pages converted at 40%, well, 40 to 60%, which is, I mean, we always say to clients, if we can get between 20 and 30% conversion rate, we're doing okay. 20's at the low end, 30% is kind of the target. So 40 to 50% conversion rate was very good. And we know off the work that we did with these guys that they had some very big inquiries, and the return on investment for the campaign with them was frankly impressive. So I'm going to wrap up now. I can talk to you about loads of other case studies as well if you want to come see me afterwards. But yeah, tweet about the event, hashtag IMW15, that's Inbound Marketing Week 15. There's events going on all around the world. If you haven't checked out HubSpot, check out HubSpot.com and visit the blog. The HubSpot blog is an incredible resource, but our own blog is also an incredible resource. So check out blog.katapult.co.uk and yeah, have a read of our updates. We tend to update it 3 or 4 times a week. Is that right? Have we gone 3 or 4, or are we at 5 at the moment? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so you can subscribe to our blog if you haven't done already. Loads of information about digital marketing, particularly for engineering and manufacturing businesses and the B2B sector as well.